Hey Sun Devil fans, Sandy Charles here with DevilsDigest.com, and I'm joined by our publisher, Hode Rubino. We are continuing our coverage of the 2018 season, talking about ASU's second game of the year, a home matchup against Michigan State University this Saturday night. So Hode, with all the surprises last week, the term Week 1 overreaction was used a lot. With ASU's convincing win, 49-7 over UTSA, does this imply to them?
Well, I think it really depends if you can keep it in perspective or not. With all the question marks, all the doubts that Arizona State had, and we talked about this a lot in the last few weeks with the hiring of Herm Edwards, how expectations were so low for the Sun Devils, for them to come out and dominate as at least the bookmakers in Las Vegas expected them to. I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't think there's anything that ASU needs to apologize for it. But at the same time, you really need to keep it in context. And on the flip side of the coin, when you look at Michigan State, not a convincing win at all at home last week against Utah State, 38-31. Really had to pull the game out in the fourth quarter. But is Michigan State really not the opponent that Arizona State expected to be just a couple weeks ago, for example? I think that the truth somewhere lies in the middle. But I think the good thing that happened for Arizona State is that even though they had a very convincing win, they also had 11 penalties. And I think that helped the coaches have maybe more productive film sessions than you really would expect, because look, when you're watching film and the final score is 49-7 in your favor, you would think, okay, maybe not a whole lot for coaches to say on either side of the ball. But when you have 11 penalties, for example, that's one glaring deficiency that Arizona State knows that they have to fix when they play a team of the caliber of Michigan State. Also, listening to the coaches all week long, talking to the media, I felt that they were by far not content at all by what they saw, and they know the caliber of opponent. Again, number 15 team in the country is going to be a whole lot different story for Arizona State. So I think that Arizona State, both the players and the coaches, are pretty grounded, and there's not really a lot of overreaction on the one hand to the way they dominated a team like UTSA, but on the other hand, also not a whole lot of overreaction to what Michigan State did or didn't do against Utah State last week. So it's important to keep perspective and not to have that overreaction, as hard as it sometimes it is to do. But I think Arizona State is definitely, at least from what you're hearing, when talking to the players, talking to the coaches, pretty grounded in terms of the matchup tomorrow.
Looking at Michigan State's offense, it seems they're pretty well balanced, and that will be the #1 challenge for ASU's defense. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a defense obviously goes into every game trying to make their opponent one-dimensional, and with Michigan State, it's much easier said than done. Even a game against Utah State, they didn't rush the ball all that well in the first half, but still ended with 165 yards. And in the first half, when they didn't rush the ball that well, the passing game with quarterback Brian Luricki was able to keep in the contest and making sure that Utah State wasn't too far ahead. So I think what's unique about the Michigan State offense is that Brian Luricki, on the one hand, is really a dual threat quarterback. He's very comfortable getting out of the pocket and making plays with his feet. But usually when you see the dual threat quarterback, you expect to see in a spread offense. And Michigan State, typical to most Big Ten teams, is a very meat and potatoes, pro-style offense. You'll see a lot of two backs, and their goal, first and foremost, is really to pound the ball early and often, and then just have a guy like Brian Luricki make plays when you sometimes lull the defense to sleep, so to speak, just because you're running the ball so often. So the big challenge for Arizona State is really with their defense, which is creating a lot of deception, creating a lot of confusion, really to do it at a level that can frustrate Brian Luricki, and even though he's comfortable playing out of the pocket as often as he is, to still have that element of confusion that can cause him to make mistakes. There's no doubt that Arizona State is going to have to play just as well, if not better, than they did last week at the line of scrimmage, because again, Michigan State, when they're pounding the ball and pounding it well, they're an offense that's really hard to stop. So that's definitely going to be a challenge for Arizona State. And I think really the biggest thing that I'm going to look at is that, look, I mean, there's no secret that Arizona State's defense is very, very creative. Again, we're talking about the 3-3-5 with a lot of disguises and coverages and blitzes too. But when you have an offense that again can be just very monotonic, like Michigan State, sometimes as a defensive player you can be sometimes antsy and really try to make a play and try to get things going on your end just to stop the monotony, if you will. And I think that's another big challenge for Arizona State's defense, is really to stay true to their assignments, not to try to do too much, and not to think that this Michigan State offense is so vanilla that just by sheer athleticism or just pre-snap movement that you can really frustrate the offense. You're going to be really, really sound because even though, again, they weren't all that impressive last week, this is definitely one of the better offenses Arizona State defense is going to play all year long.
Okay, Hode, speaking of offense, ASU's offense last week against UTSA was impressive with how well balanced they were. Do you think Michigan State can make them one-dimensional?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Michigan State, especially with their defensive tackles, can really frustrate Arizona State's ground attack. And the Sun Devils are dealing with a potential major injury on the offensive line. Right guard Steve Miller did not practice Tuesday and Wednesday. There was no media availability on Thursday, so we don't know if he did or did not practice. But by all accounts, Steve Miller does seem doubtful for tomorrow's game. And now you're talking about his backup, Zach Robertson, who actually can play both right guard and right tackle. If he plays right tackle, Quinn Bailey would shift to right guard. But Zach Robertson has been extremely limited all week in practice, maybe even a game time decision whether he does or does not play. So now the question is that due to those injuries, how much does it affect Arizona State's run blocking and pass protection? Again, already facing a very formidable Michigan State defensive line. The running game, I mean, on the one hand, I don't expect Arizona State to come even close to the 200-plus yards they got against UTSA last week. But on the other hand, I don't know if this Arizona State rushing attack can really put pedestrian numbers and still come away victorious. So it's really going to be a lot up to the Arizona State's passing game, where I feel that Arizona State is going to have advantage over their secondary. But again, now we're talking about the offensive line in a run blocking capacity. Also now we're talking about a pass protection aspect. Again, will the problems on the right side of the line affect protecting Matty Wilkins, giving him enough time to find his targets like N'Keal Harry, Kyle Williams, and company? So it's going to be interesting to see if Arizona State can play as balanced as they did last week. I don't think anybody would be shocked if they didn't. And if Arizona State is forced to really pass the ball 40 times or more, does that really affect their game plan that much and takes them out of their element? Or is that enough really to keep Michigan State on their toes and possibly open some things in the ground attack? But just like we talk about the Arizona State defense having one of its biggest challenges of the year facing the Spartans, I would definitely say the same is true for the Arizona State offense.
Now, Saturday poses a huge opportunity for the Sun Devils to make an early season statement. I almost said impact, but early season statement. Do you think they'll be successful in doing so?
I think Arizona State definitely has a great opportunity to make a statement in Saturday night's game. I think that, again, not that you want to overreact to week one, but I think, on the other hand, it is very true to say that Arizona State is entering this game with more confidence than Michigan State. Michigan State showed many more chinks in their armor compared to Arizona State last week. So I think that's something that can play an effect. And as we're standing here in the blazing sun, we have to talk about the elements tomorrow. Kickoff temperature is going to be very close to 100 degrees, and game time is going to be 10:45 Eastern Time Zone, where Michigan State Spartans come from. I know on the one hand you can really belabor the point and talk about the effect that it has, but on the other hand, we look at Arizona State's record at home against Big Ten teams who played in similar conditions, early to mid-September, very late at night, and no Big Ten team has won in nine tries over here at Sun Devil Stadium. So I think there's something to be said about the odds maybe being stacked against Michigan State in that manner. I think, like I said earlier in our conversation, I feel that Arizona State, even as dominating as they were, they made enough mistakes for the coaches to really keep them grounded, and they're very cognizant that this is one of the best teams they're going to play all year long. So I'm not afraid about any overconfidence or cockiness from Arizona State. And again, I think Michigan State is a team that maybe compared to Arizona State still has more things to figure out, even though it's only week 2 of the season. So I think this is going to be a relatively low-scoring game. I don't see any offense really overpowering the other, and I feel that Arizona State is going to win 27-24.
Thank you so much, Hode. Keep it locked in here at DevilsDigest.com for all of your in-game and post-game coverage this weekend, and of course throughout the entire 2018 season. For Hode Rubino, I'm Sandy Charles. We'll see you Saturday.